Hey there, welcome to a new video. In this video we are looking at this sampler. So let's dive into it. Here we have this sample and we've loaded into the sampler simply by drag and drop. So let's see the several parameters. First we have the reverse. So we can see it's being played backwards. Then we have the snap. So the snap basically snaps this slider, which is the sample end, to the zero crossing points. Then we have the root note. So now I'm playing C3 and the sample plays as the original, but if we move it, I'm still playing C3, and this means that by playing the same note, moving the root note, we are playing different pitches. So we are moving the original sample to a new note. Then we have the Detune. This is the key tracking scale and the relationship of sampler's pitch to the pitch of incoming MIDI notes. Then we have the scale that basically scales the input signal of the notes. So if I'm playing C3 and then I play D3, we have this transposition. But if I do 200% of scale, we have a higher pitch, and if we do 200%, we have a reversed pitch. If we set it at 0, we don't have any pitching going on. Then we have the volume, the pan, the sample start, which can also be changed by dragging this one. Here we have the sample start, which can also be changed by dragging this flag. Then we have the sample end. Here we have the sustain mode. So we have three modes. One, which is on, this one. Then we have loop, and then we have loop back and forth. So with on, we have one single playback. With loop, we have this looping, and we also have the loop start and loop end. And then we have loop back and forth. So it's going back and forth. Then we have the release mode. So we have off, on, loop, back and forth. So no release with off. Then we have the release mode. So if we loop it like this, we are now still having a loop, but if we go to the release setting, we have this release. Then we have the release loop mode. So something like this, and then this other thing. Then we have the release loop slider. Here we have the crossfade, and now we can't change it because we have this and this matching. Then in the release mode, we have the crossfade as well. So we have this other crossfade. Here we have the detune and the detune of respectively of the sustain and the release mode. Then we have the interpolation, so no interpolation. And basically this is a global setting which determines the accuracy of transposed samples. So the higher the setting, the more CPU intensive it is. Then we have the RAM mode, which makes sampler play from RAM instead from disk. And this control is global and applies to all loaded sample in this instance of the instrument. Here we have the channel selector. Here we have the vertical zoom, and note that this isn't a volume slider, it's just a zoom to get more detail from the sample. Here we have the channel selector, so we have both. We have mono, left, and right, and this doesn't change anything, just helps us visualize the right, the left, the mono signal, and so on, but it doesn't change the output. Now let's go to the pitch os section. So here we have an oscillator with FM or AM. So now it's not working even if it's turned on, because we have the volume turned down. Here we have FM and AM. We have the initial, so we have all the ADSR. Then we have the type, then we have the course and the fine. And here we have the fixed oscillator frequency, so we can just select one fixed frequency and multiplying it by a determined factor. Here we have the pitch envelope, which is not working because we have to turn up the amount. Here we have all the ADSR. Here we have the spread, which creates some stereo content. Then we have the transpose, the detune, and then we have the global key zone shift, and this transposes MIDI notes in the key zone editor only, so that different samples may be selected for playback even though they will adhere to the played pitch. Good for getting interesting artifacts from multi-samples. Then we have the global zone shift that transposes MIDI notes in the key zone editor only, which is this one. Then we have the glide. And this works very, very well with melodic samples instead of drums, of course. And here we have the global glide time. Then let's go to the filter global. Here we have a filter with all the settings: frequency, resonance, slope, circuit, type of filter, and the drive. Then we have the shaper with different types. Here we have this arrow that allows us placing the shaper after the filter or before the filter and the filter envelope. We here we have the filter envelope. So with the amount, we are basically selecting the direction and the amount of movement of the filter, and then here we have the rest of the envelope. Finally, we have the global, the volume with the velocity, and here we have all the other parameters of any other envelope in Ableton. Here we have the voices and the retrigger function. The retrigger function, when enabled, notes which are already playing will be retriggered rather than generating an additional voice. So that's how it works. And then we have all the modulation. Here we have LFO 1, 2, 3. Here we have some destinations. Then here we have an auxiliary envelope, and we can turn it on and off. And we can choose the parameter to send it out. So like panorama, and then we can choose how much it works. So as you can see, it's working on the panorama, and here it is. Then we have the MIDI section. Here we have all the destination for the MIDI key, velocity, off velocity, aftertouch, etc. for a lot more control on our sample, especially if we are playing something like melodic sounds which need more expression to be mapped instead to be programmed afterwards the session is played. Here we have the zone, and we can basically make more samples and select which notes play which sample. So if we load like this one here and this one here, so we have this result with C3 playing this sample, and then we go to the E3 which plays this sample, and then if we go up, C4 plays this other sample. Last but not least, here we have the hot swap sample. So if we turn it on, we can just browse different samples, press enter, and load it without having to browse this section, the browser, and dragging the stuff. So this is great if you want to maybe swap sample while playing out a track to see which sample in your library fits your production the best. So this is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.